Hello everyone and welcome back to Blackest Night. This is it. This is the end. The final part of the series. We're coming to the conclusion of this epic event. We were done with all the tie-ins and now we just gotta finish the main series. So let's just get straight into Blackest Night issue 6. Continuing from where we last left off, the Black Rings have invaded Coast City and have started taking control of all of the heroes that had died in the past and been resurrected. And this also includes Hal Jordan and Barry Allen. Black Rings are coming after them too. So they're having to fend off these Black Rings and at the same time also have to fend off Black Lantern, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and Green Arrow, all of their dear friends. And during this, Hal points out how every single character had died and when they were resurrected. And Jeff Johns gets his information a little bit wrong here. Like Hal talks about Oliver Queen and he says that Ollie died in a plane explosion, which is true, that happened after Hal died. But then he says that Ollie came back while he was Parallax, which is not true. Ollie came back while Hal was already the Spectre. Sinestro wants to just kill Superman and get it over with, and Hal is like, no, you can't kill him because he's not even dead. He's still alive in there. I can't prove it, but I know that. Meanwhile, Barry is dealing with Black Lantern Bart Allen, and Wally comes in to help him. And then Barry calls out to Hal, and he's like, Hal, chain on to me, quick. And Hal's like, why? And Barry's like, I'll show you. And he uses his speed to run away from the Black Rings alongside Hal, and then time travels, and that disconnects the Black Rings from them. It severs their connection somehow. He time travels 2 seconds into the future. I don't know why the Black Rings wouldn't just reconnect with them afterward, but time travel logic. Hal asks Barry a pretty good question. What will happen to everybody if we fix this whole situation? If we destroy the Black Lantern battery, will everyone die? Will we die? The people that are supposed to be dead? Meanwhile, Jean Loring has brought Mera and the Atom inside of a Black Lantern ring in order to torture them, but Deadman arrives and he takes over her body and frees the two of them. And then Mera grabs onto Jean's tongue and rips her jaw off as kind of a way to be like, this is for messing with us. And for killing Damage, for ripping his heart out. From this encounter with Deadman, Mera and Atom have learnt that apparently every Black Lantern in the entire universe is coming to Earth. And so as they leave the Black Ring, Mera is like, every Black Lantern in the universe? How many do you think that means? And we cut to Jon Stewart on his way to Earth, followed by the entire planet of Xanshi and all of its Black Lanterns. Arriving back into the fray, Mera immediately locks fists with Wonder Woman, while Barry and Hal reunite with Sinestro, and they discover that they're not going to be able to destroy the Black Lantern unless all of the Corps comes together and uses their power all at once. But there just isn't enough of them right now. So Ganthet, one of the Guardians, decides to do something that a Guardian has never done before. He splits Hal Jordan's ring, that's the normal thing, they've done that before, but what they haven't done before is become a Green Lantern themselves. So Ganthet joins the Green Lantern Corps just for today, and he reveals to all of the other Lantern Corps that he has the ability to deputize some Lantern Corps members for 24 hours. So he's going to give rings to different heroes and make them members of the Corps. And the Corps doesn't want this. Like, Atrocitus doesn't want this. He's like, he can't control us. And Ganthet's like, too bad. I'm gonna do it anyway. He duplicates their rings, and he sends out a ring, each ring to a different hero. So he sends one to Barry Allen, which is the Blue Lantern ring. He sends an Orange Lantern ring to Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is currently being attacked by all of the Black Lanterns, all the people that he was responsible for killing. They start to overwhelm him, including his father, and the Orange Lantern ring comes in and senses his greed and transforms him into an Orange Lantern. We then cut to the Scarecrow, who is experimenting on this poor woman and is mad that he doesn't understand what she's afraid of, because he's not really afraid of anything except for Batman, and he really wants Batman to come after him, so he plans on spreading her entrails around so that Batman will find him, which is really messed up. Scarecrow is a horrible person, and he's about to do this, but then a Yellow Lantern ring arrives, senses his ability to control fear, and makes him a Yellow Lantern, which is a really cool idea. Ray Palmer is given an Indigo Lantern ring, Mera is given a Red Lantern ring, and a Star Sapphire ring goes to Wonder Woman, but Carol realizes that Wonder Woman still has to gain control of herself before she can gain the Star Sapphire ring. And what we learnt in the miniseries was that she went through a whole trial with Aphrodite to test whether or not she was ready for the Star Sapphire ring. She went through the test, she got the ring, became Star Sapphire. There were hallucinations of Donna Troy, Cassie Sandsmark, and Batman where they made out. It was really weird. That is all completely ignored in this. She just kind of regains control of herself and gets the ring. There's no Aphrodite, no Batman, Donna, or Cassie, which means that miniseries is decanonized, and that makes me very happy. And so we see all of these characters come together as Lanterns. Lex Luthor, Mera, Barry, Diana, we got the Scarecrow, and we got Ray Palmer. We now move over to Green Lantern Corps issue 44, where Mogo, the planet-sized Green Lantern, has arrived outside Oa. He's just sitting there, and Kyle Rayner is like, "Hey, Salak, why is Mogo here, and why is he not doing anything?" And Salak states that Mogo must be planning something, and that he will try to communicate with Mogo and see why he's here. Meanwhile, they gotta deal with the fact that there are Black Lanterns invading Oa, and they've also got to deal with Guy Gardner, who has been taken over by a red ring after the rage he felt when Kyle died. But he doesn't know that Kyle Rayner is back to life. And we see this really funny shot of Guy just flying through a whole bunch of Black Lanterns with a green and red lantern ring. He's just like, ah! He's just chopping up Black Lanterns. Ah, kill the dead. Kill them again and again. They want black. Give them black. The black of frickin' oblivion. And he's got this red lantern chainsaw, and he's just like just drilling them. The Black Lanterns are attacking the central power battery, and the power battery starts collapsing. And so Kyle creates a construct to stop it from collapsing, and he's like, "Hey guys, use your rings to help support my construct." But his construct breaks, the Green Lantern battery collapses and smashes onto the ground, which is really bad. As the dust begins to settle, Kyle and the other Green Lanterns look up and they see Guy with like an axe in one hand, chain in the other, killing Black Lanterns, and Kyle wants to go and stop him, and he's stopped by Vath, because Vath is like, right now, Guy is just killing Black Lanterns, and he's not really doing anything problematic. Maybe we should just let him keep doing that. And Kyle's like, "No, you don't know what that red ring could be doing to him. I need to talk to him. I need to try and stop him." And so Kyle meets Guy face to face and tries to talk to him, to tell him, "Hey Guy, I'm alive again. You don't need to use that red lantern ring anymore. You don't need to let your rage control you. Please listen to me, because you're like a brother to me." And he's like, "No, I like it. I like seeing red. It's simple. No more gray. No more black and white. No more green. Just red. Red is all there is." And he creates a sword construct and clashes with Kyle. "We don't have much time, Guy. Our battery's being eaten away by these damn things. We have to stop them." "Guy, listen to me, damn it. I'm not dead. You don't need to let this red ring control you anymore. Let it go. Let all the anger and hate go. You're a Green Lantern. This is not you. Kyle. Yeah, buddy, that's right, it's me. Please don't let it win. We can fix this. Kyle, doing best I can to keep it from spilling over. Red Ring's taking me where I don't want to go. Don't let it. You gotta kill me before I... No way, Guy. There's still time to... Time's up. You're not you. Black Lantern trick, not giving into it. You're dead. Kyle Rayner's dead. And he creates a construct of an axe and is ready to slam down on Kyle and kill him. And that's when we cut to Salak, who is talking to Mogo and asks Mogo, what is the plan? And Mogo tells him that the Guardians have given him a battle plan involving some kind of purge. He is going to purge the entire planet of Oa to fix the Black Lantern problem. What does he mean by purge? Well, he means he's gonna suck everybody up into his atmosphere, both Green Lanterns and Black Lanterns. And as they're being sucked up into Mogo, the Green Lanterns are having to fight against the Black Lanterns to stop themselves from being killed while they are traveling to the planet. And eventually they all arrive at Mogo, where we see Iolande is there just chilling with all of the patients that were brought to Mogo. Instead of landing directly on Mogo, the Green Lanterns are forced to hover up in the air while the Black Lanterns all fall onto Mogo, and Mogo begins absorbing them into what they call his Sea of Green, because there's nothing but grass and trees. And Mogo explains to them that he is breaking the Black Lanterns down inside of him into their atoms and burning them for eternity and using them to power himself going forward. The Black Lanterns have essentially become a reusable energy source. Kilowog then reveals that he sent all the Green Lanterns back to Oa off-panel, and Kyle's like, well, now we just gotta search for Guy and get that Red Lantern ring off of him. And that's when Guy arrives, and he's like, don't worry, I've found you. We move on to Green Lantern issue 50, where the Lantern Corps are all fighting against the Black Lanterns together alongside their new recruits. Barry Allen and Saint Walker fight against Firestorm, where they use their abilities to try and draw Jason Rush out of Ronnie's corpse. Mera faces Black Lanterns Arthur and Arthur Jr. Alongside Atrocitus. Atrocitus is like, Earthwoman, I have nothing to say but welcome to the Red Lantern Corps. It's kind of neat seeing these two characters fight alongside each other because you wouldn't expect these two characters to do that. Diana is fighting alongside Carol. Ray is fighting with Indigo. The Scarecrow is fighting with Sinestro. And Larfleeze is fighting against Lex Luthor because he doesn't want to share the orange ring. He's like, give me that back, you thief. No, it's mine. And Hal also doesn't like the idea of Lex Luthor being an Orange Lantern and Scarecrow being a Yellow Lantern because they are both criminals and murderers. And he's like, yeah, these people should not be lanterns. We need to take their rings from them. And Sinestro was like, come on, Hal, just let them be lanterns because they can help us. We can use them. This is definitely the turning point in Blackest Night where Hal Jordan starts to feel a lot more important. Up until now, he hasn't really done a whole lot. He's been there, he's been in every issue, but he hasn't really done anything important. That all changes with this issue. The Spectre appears as a Black Lantern. He grabs Hal Jordan and is ready to judge him. He attacks him with all of this Black Lantern energy and transforms Hal into a Black Lantern. And you think it's all over for him. You think he's a Black Lantern, but then he is saved by Ganthet. But unfortunately, the Guardians are eaten by the Spectre. Hal, who has freed himself from the Black Lantern's influence, is just like, Spectre, say ah! And he smashes his jaw off with a construct hammer. And then he flies into his mouth in order to grab the Guardians and free them. Meanwhile, Sinestro is fighting with Scarecrow and is getting really annoyed. It's like, dude, stop giggling. Just help me take down these Black Lanterns. And Scarecrow is like, yes, I'll do whatever you want as long as you continue to let me use this ring because it gives me the fear that I desire. This is all I've wanted. I no longer need Batman anymore. He straight up starts fighting the Spectre. He throws a chain into his eye and he's like, oh no, you got something in your eye. Jonathan Crane, you have the ability to instill great fear. You will do that as your namesake. And the Black Lantern Spectre creates a cross and attaches Scarecrow to it, making him a Scarecrow. All of the Lanterns start fighting the Spectre together, and Hal and Ganthet create a massive stake construct, and they stab it through the Spectre's heart, hoping that this will be enough to defeat him, but it doesn't do anything. Instead, he just pulls it out and throws it away. He's like, no, not this time. At this point, their attempts seem futile, and Hal tries to think of a way to stop the Spectre, and he thinks back to the days when he used to be the Spectre, and when he and the Spectre split up, the Spectre just left, and it's because he was afraid of Parallax, which is another kind of BS thing that Jeff Johns came up with, because in the Spectre series, the Spectre was not afraid of Parallax anymore, and yet now he is. But whatever, he needs to be afraid in order for the story to work, because Hal believes that if he becomes Parallax again, he will be able to stop the Spectre. He reveals to Sinestro that they had split Parallax up into 4 different lanterns so that he couldn't combine back together and come back, and that Sinestro is the only one who can draw Parallax out of the lanterns. And Sinestro decides that he is the one that wants to gain Parallax's power and do this. And so they set Parallax free, and Hal and Sinestro fight over who's gonna gain control of Parallax. Sinestro's like, no, you can't. It has to be me, Hal. If you gain control of Parallax, you'll probably just destroy the city again, because that's exactly what you did last time. And Hal is like, that's not gonna happen again. I'm gonna be able to control him this time, because I know what I'm doing. Meanwhile, Carol tries to stop him because she doesn't want to lose Hal. And Hal is like, all you have to do is help me get back to normal once this is all over, once I've stopped the Spectre, and I should be fine. You won't lose me. And then they kiss each other, which is kind of like a sitcom, like, ooh moment, where this is the first time that they have kissed in many years. Carol tells Hal that she loves him, and then tells him to go, and Hal flies over to Parallax, and he's like, alright, let's try this again, with pleasure. Parallax takes over Hal Jordan, and Sinestro's like, you don't know what you're doing, Jordan! Jordan! And a big, massive explosion of yellow energy appears, and within the explosion, it's no longer Hal Jordan. It's like, Jordan's not here anymore, Sinestro. It's just me. So, Spectre, where were we? Hal Jordan appears as Parallax again. Blackhand is bathing in the glory of the Black Lanterns. He looks happy as fuck. He's just like, oh, yes! But his moment of bliss is interrupted by an argument that is currently going on between Lex Luthor and Larfleeze, a fight over the Orange Lantern and the Orange Lantern ring. Lex knows that the ring is at its most powerful when it is controlled by one person, and he wants to be that one person, because he wants to have his own army of Orange Lanterns, and he wants one of those Orange Lanterns to be Superman himself. But Larfleeze wants the ring for himself because it is his, and he wants it back. And he says that Lex Luthor doesn't know avarice like he does. And Lex is like, of course I do. I know all about that stuff, because us humans, we only care about owning things. That's our whole thing. And then Larfleeze is like, then perhaps this planet is worth saving after all. And that's when their fight is interrupted by the fight between Parallax and the Spectre. Now, at first, when you're reading this, you're thinking, oh, Parallax has full control of Hal again, but this is actually more of a mutual agreement between the two of them, where they are both controlling the body at the same time, fighting the Spectre. Meanwhile, all the other Lantern Corps are fighting together as well. Parallax has the Spectre all figured out. He's like, you're calling yourself the Spectre right now, but you're not really the Spectre. You're just a shell for the real Spectre. He's hidden inside you. He jumps onto the Spectre's chest, smashes through it, and sees the real Spectre trapped within, who is like, "You will be judged, Parallax." And Parallax goes up to him. He's like, "Look at you, God's weapon of bloody justice, chained and imprisoned by the mutated and maligned carcass of your human shelter. Yes, we both know what it's like to find that special somebody, don't we, Hal Jordan? Crispus Allen?" And Crispus Allen is the cause of all this. His body was taken by a black ring, and he pulls aside Spectre's face to see the black ring. He pulls it out in order to free the Spectre from the black ring. He destroys it and succeeds in freeing him. He severs the black ring from the Spectre. At this point, Carol is like, okay, now we got to separate Hal from Parallax. And Parallax is like, no, you don't need to do that yet. Right now, I have to destroy the Spectre. So he continues to fight against the Spectre, trying to destroy him. The Spectre is determined on destroying Parallax, and if he has to destroy Hal alongside him, then he will. And Parallax is like, don't try to play tough, Spectre. I see you. And it's really gross. He rips the Spectre's face off. I was just like, ugh. And you can see Crispus Allen inside of the Spectre. Then Sinestro jumps in and wraps Parallax around in chains. He's like, you need to be put on a leash. You don't control me, Sinestro. I wasn't talking to you, Parallax. I was talking to Jordan. Atrocitus tries to take over the Spectre because he believes that the Spectre is the entity of the Red Lantern Corps, and the Spectre transforms into a Red Lantern for a very brief moment. He uses his rage powers to quell the fight going on between Parallax and Sinestro, and then he turns to Atrocitus and is like, I am not your entity. I am no one's rage except for God's. And he gets rid of his Red Lantern powers. He's like, Parallax, it is true I fear you and your kind. I fear the primitive power of emotions, but that fear will connect me to you, while Hal Jordan is connected to her. And he points at Carol, and she's like, what? Like, grab him now. And Carol grabs onto Parallax, and Parallax is like, release me, Sapphire, because that's Hal talking from within him. She pulls, and Hal is drawn out of Parallax, freeing the two of them. Hal and Carol are reunited. Sinestro then launches himself at Parallax. It's like, come to me, Parallax, before the Spectre destroys you, Parallax. And Parallax is grabbed by some other kind of entity and disappears. We'll find out what happened to Parallax later. For now, Hal turns to the Spectre and is like, hey, big guy, we could use a hand right now. Can you take down Nekron for us? And Spectre is like, yes, of course. Nekron, you have caused all sorts of death and destruction, and today you will be judged. And then nothing happens. It's like, I can't strike you down, because I have no soul to judge, slave. I am not alive. I am darkness. You have no power over me. Be gone. And the Spectre just goes, ah! And he's just taken down like that. Once again, the Spectre is just reduced to being kind of useless in a big event because he's so powerful that writers have to come up with reasons why he can't do anything. And now nothing is here to stop Nekron and his army from taking over the world. Now returning to Green Lantern Corps issue 45, the Green Lanterns are all on Mogo and have come face to face with Red Lantern Guy Gardner. Guy is struggling to control his Green Lantern side. His Red Lantern side is taking over. His Green Lantern side can see that these are his friends, while his Red Lantern side only sees them as his enemies and all he wants to do is just burn them and rip them apart. And so he starts attacking all of his friends, and they have to defend against his attacks. They try a couple of ideas in order to restrain him. Sapphire uses her Sapphire tether in order to attach it to his heart and try to tether him with love, hoping that it will help him regain control of himself. But he's too powerful. He starts pulling her around, and so she gets the help of everybody else. They all start throwing tethers at him to grab onto him, but their tethers begin breaking. And so Kyle is like, Mogo, he's dragging us around. You gotta help us somehow, please. And Mogo's like, alright, I got an idea, Kyle. You all need to get out of the way right now. He shoots out a massive beam of green energy which hits Guy. And what Mogo does is he brings out all of Guy's inner demons as constructs. So the green constructs are all of his good memories, and the red constructs are all of his bad memories. We get to see them all here, and he is essentially leaving it up to Guy to fight his own demons and hopefully regain control of himself. So on the green side, we have Ice, aka Tora, who is the love of his life. And then on the red side, we've got him dealing with his abusive father, who keeps comparing him to his brother Mace. He constantly says that Guy is always destined to be bronze in third place, which is kind of funny because he was the third official Green Lantern. Like, he usually comes in third after Jon Stewart, even though Guy Gardner was introduced first. He didn't become an actual Green Lantern until after Jon did. Mogo tells Kyle and the others not to get involved and to let Guy fight his own demons, but Kyle's like, no, we are the Green Lantern Corps, we always help our friends, we're getting involved whether you like it or not. And so they try to help Guy. I guess Kilowog's way of helping Guy is slamming a big hammer down on top of him. I think it's just to restrain him, because they get him on the ground and they try to restrain him with these constructs. Kyle is determined to get the Red Lantern ring off of Guy, but unfortunately, once a Red Lantern ring is bonded to somebody, it can't come off unless you get the help of a Blue Lantern to do so. I don't know how that really fits with the lore, because there was a tie-in written by Jeff Johns where Superboy Prime became a Red Lantern, and then he just kind of lost the Red Lantern powers after that. Maybe it's because he wasn't a real Red Lantern, I don't know. So Kyle tells Monk to take him to a Black Lantern alongside Guy, and Monk says, I can't, don't have enough power to teleport right now. And then Kyle's like, alright, just tell me where one of the Blue Lanterns is and I'll go see him. And Monk is like, I can't do that either. I have no idea where the Blue Lanterns are, because they don't know what's currently going on planet Earth. And Kyle starts to get really agitated. Will not, do not, does not. You're not saying anything I want to hear right now, so let me worry about what's possible. Kyle, give me the damn location of the... No! Enough's enough! How many people that I care about do I need to lose before enough is enough? How many? Monk states that Guy's Red Lantern rage is too strong to even transport him in the first place, and Kyle says, hey, why don't we just create one of those science cells that we put Vice in? And Monk is like, well, those were made for specific Red Lanterns, so because you don't have one to specifically hold Guy, that won't work either. Soranik does a full body scan of Guy and sees that his entire bloodstream, his whole body, is infested with red ring energy. And then Kilowog has a tough discussion with Kyle, which is, earlier, Guy Gardner told Kyle to kill him so that the Red Ring won't gain control of him, and that maybe they're gonna have to do that. And Kyle's like, no, we are not gonna do that. We're not settling on that conclusion. And I guess Mogo has just been sitting here listening to everybody's conversations before he finally decides to jump in and be like, guys, you don't need to do any of that stuff because I can help Guy. I can't cleanse him fully of all the Red Lantern energy, but I can get most of it out of him. So he creates a little pool for Guy to be in, and he restrains him. And he's like, I'm going to restrain him right now so that he doesn't go into shock. And Kyle's like, why would he go into shock? And Mogo creates a whole bunch of antibodies, this horrible looking worm things that all go inside Guy. This is nightmarish. They're just all over his body, sucking the red energy out of his system and his bloodstream. It looks incredibly painful. One of the worst things you could possibly go through. And then the red ring comes off. Guy emerges from the water. He's all good. He's free of the red energy. Not fully. There is some left. Mogo does explain that if they want to get all of the residual red energy out of him, they will need to find a Blue Lantern. But for now, Guy has full control over himself. He's a Green Lantern again. He reunites with everybody. They're all really happy to see Guy. And Guy's really happy to see Mogo and that Mogo saved his life. Because he's like, If I could hug you, I would, but you're a little bit too big. Monk then gets a distress signal from Oa. And so they're like, alright, let's go to Oa. We gotta see what's going on there. So they fly over to Oa and they realize that the Indigo Lanterns have arrived because Indigo 1 has been sending out Indigo Lanterns to retrieve the different Lantern Corps and bring them to Earth to help fight against the Black Lanterns. So the Green Lanterns all recharge their energy and are teleported to Earth. Now on to Blackest Night Chapter 7. Nekron has all of the Guardians' bodies and seems to be planning to enact some kind of ritual with them, but the different Corps are all here to try and stop him. The Lantern Corps all attack him at once with their abilities, but they don't seem to affect him at all. Nekron isn't even paying them any attention. Ray Palmer points this out. Like, I'm used to being overlooked, but Nekron's not giving any of us a second glance, because Nekron's nothing like the evil we eradicate day to day at him. He's not going to launch into a lecture and make this personal. It isn't. But it is to me, Lanterns. Blackhand appears and starts using his powers against all of the Lantern Corps, entangling them in this black barbed wire. There's also a little bit of a moment between him and Atrocitus where he's like, I remember you, alien, you were there. And Atrocitus was like, yes, I remember seeing the darkness in your heart and I tried to stop you, or stop it. And it's like, no, you didn't. You kind of enacted it because you dropped your cosmic rod and then he picked it up. And that's how he became Black Hand in the first place. Black Hand tries to steal Atrocitus' heart, but he has no heart because we already saw it get ripped out in a previous issue and he replaced it with a construct. And so he turns to Hal Jordan instead and starts overwhelming Hal with all of these Black Lanterns or zombies. But Hal gets saved by Scarecrow, of all people. Scarecrow comes in with his pitchfork, stabs Black Hand through the chest. He's so happy to be a lantern, and then Lex Luthor ruins everything because they all turn to Lex and they're like, Lex, what are you doing? Why aren't you helping us? And Scarecrow's like, no, I'm not gonna have Lex steal this moment. This is my moment. And then Lex is like, no, it's mine. And then he flies into Scarecrow, grabs him by the throat, and everybody's just like, what the hell are you doing, Luthor? And then he's like, this is all mine, give me your ring. And he rips Scarecrow's lantern ring off and then puts it on, and all of these lantern constructs just start flying out of him, attacking everybody. For some reason, Scarecrow has disappeared. He's not in this shot. I don't know what happened to him, but now he's going after Mera, and he tries to steal Mera's red lantern ring. Meanwhile, Jon Stewart is trying to communicate with the people of Earth to tell them that all these Black Lanterns are coming, but he can't get through to them, and it's because one of the Black Lanterns is this character called Airwave, who is this character that DC just constantly brings back and never does anything with. He doesn't really matter. He's blocking the airwaves, and that's why Jon can't communicate with Earth. But then, the Black Lanterns sense an emotional spectrum detonation, and it is the Green Lantern Corps, like all the Corps, alongside the Indigo Lantern Corps, all arriving at the same time. And it's immediate chaos. They all just start fighting each other, and they're just like, you're gonna have to stop fighting, because if we want to stop the Black Lanterns, you're all gonna have to work together. Because there's like 9 billion or 30 billion Black Lanterns, who knows how many there are. So if you want to have a chance to destroy them all, you're going to have to work together. And Guy's like, okay, if we all work together, how many Black Lanterns would we have to kill each? And they're like, about 2 billion. And Guy's like, is that supposed to be a better number? That's still ridiculous. Meanwhile, the Titans are fighting the Black Lanterns, and we see Dove is just kind of walking around destroying Black Lanterns because the light that she radiates destroys them. And she's kind of like, oh, what will happen if I touch the battery? Could I just destroy it? And then she just coincidentally gets attacked, struck by lightning, which knocks her out. And we hear a booming voice. It's like, Nekron, let me out! And the Titans notice that somebody is trapped inside of the Black Lantern. I feel bad for Dove because she's probably not going to do anything for the rest of this book. While the other Lanterns try to knock some sense into Lex Luthor, Nekron grabs one of the Guardians. He's like, do you have any final words, Creature of Deceit? Yes. Long live the court. And before he can finish his sentence, Nekron slits the Guardian's throat and then it's like, shh, don't fight it. That's it. Let it come naturally. And Black Hand pulls the guts out of the Guardian. If there's one thing that's very easy to get confused in this book, is when it's Nekron and when it's Black Hand. The two characters look very similar and I constantly get them mixed up. Black Hand puts the Guardian's guts in the middle of the ritual, and Nekron uses his power to summon the entity. That is what this thing is. It just blasts the ground open. We see this entity, this big white creature. This is the white light that they have been referring to the entire time. And Nekron wants to destroy it so that he can kill all life on Earth. So he just grabs his scythe, he stabs the entity starts screaming in pain, and everybody feels its pain because they're all connected to the entity. And the Guardian reveals that the entity was always on Earth, and that there was never supposed to be any human Green Lanterns, because they wanted nobody to know that this is where the entity was. Abin Sur came to Earth because he knew all about this, so the Guardians essentially sent him to his death. And this really pisses off Sinestro. It's like, you destroyed Abin Sur to protect your lies. You let the universe believe life originated on your homeworld to justify your authority. Sinestro, now I will justify mine. And he stabs Ganthet in his shoulder, and then we see the entity just being decimated by Nekron. It's really sad seeing this thing just get sliced and diced. Hal realizes that because it's an entity, somebody can take control of it, and he decides that he's gonna do it himself. It's like, it just needs a pilot. He flies over, and then Sinestro gets in his way. It's like, no, you had your chance of Parallax. This is my duty. This is why I'm alive. I am alive to lead us out of the Blackest Night. I demand your power, entity, and I will finally prove to the universe. And the white light begins to envelop him. Thou Sinestro of Corrigar, destiny awaits. I am the greatest lantern of them all. And so Sinestro has transformed into what looks like some kind of white lantern, new lantern. They do that fake out where you think it's going to be Hal Jordan, but it ends up being Sinestro. This next issue of Green Lantern Corps, issue 46, is kind of all over the place. It's a little bit of a mess, but it's a beautiful mess. All of the Lantern Corps are currently in space, fighting against the Black Lanterns, with Guy leading the charge. He comes up with a plan. He says that he wants to go Tholian Web on their asses, which is apparently a Star Trek reference. He makes a reference to the specific episode. I'm not really a Star Trek fan, but apparently Guy Gardner is. I don't know. This feels a little bit out of character. Guy Gardner, to me, does not seem like the kind of guy that would be interested in Star Trek at all. He has a history of being interested in a fictional character within the universe called General Glory, and that is believable because of the way that it was explained, but this is a little far-fetched. This just feels like Peter J. Tomasi's interests are now just bleeding into Guy Gardner's character. The plan involves all the Lantern Corps creating a giant web out of constructs to catch all of the Black Lanterns and push them away from Earth, but the Lanterns start getting through, and this is where things get a little bit messy, because Ice shows up as a Black Lantern. She's not dead, so this would be her becoming a Black Lantern because she was a resurrected character. She did die in the past, then come back. And she's not the only loved one coming back, because Kyle Rayner comes across a fridge. You can only guess who is inside this fridge. It's his ex-girlfriend Alex, who died and then was stuffed into a fridge. This is actually insane. To have her show up in a fridge is both hilarious and ridiculous at the same time. And she pulls Kyle into that fridge, and this just feels very last minute and kind of random, where Peter J. Tomasi was like, oh, I haven't had Guy Gardner encounter Black Lantern Ice, and I haven't had Kyle encounter Black Lantern Alex yet. So I'll just stuff the two of them both into this issue at random, where they'll just randomly show up and be like, hey guys, we're gonna mess with you today. Alex is forcing Kyle to relive the day that she died by making him Major Force, the man responsible for her death, while Ice envelops herself and Guy in ice and is planning on making them collide with the ground below and smash into pieces so that they can be together forever. But the weird thing here is that Guy acts like this is just your standard Black Lantern, where Ice died and she was brought back as Black Lantern and this is not her. But that is not the case. This is Ice, trapped inside of a Black Lantern. But what Guy does is he just breaks out of the ice and then lets her smash into the ground below. So the question is, was this Ice? And Guy just let her painfully hit the ground and smash to pieces and like, she'll come back, but the real Ice felt all of this? Or is this supposed to be an ice sculpture that the Black Lantern Ice created of herself to mess with Guy? I'd rather go with option B, because option A makes Guy look like a horrible person. Alex does her best to try and convince Kyle to just off himself, because he's seeing himself as Major Force, and he's like, you're partly responsible for me dying, so you might as well just finish it off. Make this nightmare end. But obviously Kyle doesn't fall for this. He breaks through the hallucination. He honors Alex and says, I will always honor you in death. But you, on the other hand, you are not Alex, so I won't. And he smashes through the fridge, destroying it, scattering the body parts of this Black Lantern Alex throughout space. And with the help of Monk, together with their power, they destroy Black Lantern Alex. He's like, rest in peace, Alex. And then Guy gets in contact with Kyle and is like, hey Kyle, something really bad is going on. The Anti-Monitor has just come out of the Black Lantern because he was trapped inside of it. And so all of the Lanterns go to see Kyle, and we see that Dove is there. So she is getting to do something, which is great. They all start fighting against the Anti-Monitor. Dove uses her new white light in order to destroy a bunch of Black Lanterns so that they can get closer to the Anti-Monitor and start shooting beams into his chest. Iolande gets a little bit too close to Anti-Monitor, and she is about to die. But Vath comes in and saves her, but as he does, his legs get blasted by the Anti-Monitor's beams. So now he's got no legs. Like, Jesus. Monk points out that Dove's new powers don't really have any explanation, because he's like, how did you get those powers? And she's like, I don't know. The writers didn't really come up with a reason. I just suddenly have them. And so they come up with one of the most insane plots or plans that I've ever seen in a comic, or in general. They encase her in a bullet construct, and they plan on shooting her at the Anti-Monitor like a human bullet. As soon as I saw this panel of her inside the bullet, I laughed for like 10 seconds straight, because this is so ridiculous. This looks so silly. It's hilarious. Why does she look so happy about this? This Yellow Lantern creates a massive construct sniper rifle. He shoots the Dove bullet out of it. She goes flying through space, straight through the forehead of the Anti-Monitor. Guy catches Dove, and she's like, did it stop him? And he's like, you betcha, he's down in. And then they realize that it didn't actually do anything. The Anti-Monitor heads over to the Black Lantern, and then he gets pulled into it, absorbed by the Black Lantern. They're all trying to grab him to stop it, but they can't. And so instead, they decide to divert their attention to Nekron and fight him alongside everybody else. Now on to Green Lantern issue 52. Sinestro has gained control of the White Light and has become the first White Lantern, and with the power of the White Lantern, he just starts decimating Black Lanterns, just shooting out all these white beams, destroying them, easy peasy. And then he starts to see flashes of the origins of every single emotion in existence and their entities. The origin of Ion, the origin of Parallax, the origin of Predator, the origin of Rage and Avarice, and because he stops talking about the entities and just starts talking about the emotions, because I guess the entities for these emotions haven't been revealed yet. And then we see a really cool 2-page spread of Sinestro surrounded by all of the emotional entities. We see for the first time the entity of hope, compassion, greed, and rage. Now, the version of this image that you're seeing looks really cool because it's the digital version. I can show the full 2-page spread without any creases. But I'll show you the version in the omnibus that I'm currently reading because it does not do Sinestro a service at all. They did my boy so dirty. We live. And then Nekron comes out of nowhere and is like, "You die!" and slices Sinestro in half with his scythe. I was like, Sinestro! And you think at this point, Sinestro's dead. And Nekron's like, "You can't hide in that body, I'll destroy you, entity!" And then they just knock Nekron out of the way with a wrecking ball. He's just like, "Argh!" And then John is like, "How, we got a situation. Black Lantern Zanshi is here, so we gotta deal with that." And it's shooting a giant beam at Earth. Luckily, it missed Coast City, though. And Hal's like, it wasn't going for Coast City. It hits the ocean, creates a massive tsunami that hits Coast City. And then that just kind of gets brushed off because John's like, or Hal's like, "Okay, I'm just stopping the wave right now, John. All these people are getting decimated, but we're not going to talk about that anymore. We're just going to move on to the fact that you need to go and handle Zanshi." So they all fly over to Zanshi, because they're going to go inside it and see if they can take it out from the inside. And while they are there, they get attacked by Katmatui, and then Drick is there. Meanwhile, Indigo 1 is looking at Sinestro, seeing if she can heal him, but she can't because he doesn't need healing, because her powers don't sense any wounds or trauma. And they're like, "No wounds or trauma? He's been severed in half." Hal begins to get overwhelmed by the Black Lanterns, and at this moment, John and the other Lanterns arrive in the core of Zanshi, where they see a big glob of black ooze that's made up of hundreds of Black Lantern rings. They're like, if we destroy this, then we'll probably destroy Zanshi again. And so they blast these beams into it, destroying it, severing Zanshi from the Black Lantern rings, and blasting their way out of Zanshi. It's a bit of a disappointing way for Zanshi to go, and it's cool, but it would have been much cooler if Mogo, the Green Lantern planet, had fought Zanshi one-on-one. That would have been amazing. Mogo shows up and these two planets battle each other. Why didn't that happen? I mean, at least this gives John something to do, because this whole time, he hasn't really been doing anything. There's still bits of Zanshi raining down onto the city, so they create a big force field to stop them. And then Sinestro heals himself, because if you're a White Lantern, you can't die, which makes sense because the White Lanterns are life itself. "I have been reborn. I am now the true guardian of the universe." And we see this really cool shot of Sinestro just like, with a big light sword coming out of his hand, and he's got the light entity behind him, and Hal's just like, "Oh shit, the white light, he's alive." We now arrive at the final chapter of Blackest Night, where White Lantern Sinestro faces Nekron head-on in battle. He shackles Nekron with a whole bunch of White Lantern chains. He grabs Nekron's heart, and then he rips his heart out, and Sinestro is just like, "Yay, I defeated Nekron." But Nekron is death itself, and you can't kill death, So all he does is he inhabits another body, and then he attacks Sinestro with all of his Black Lanterns, and he plunges his hand through Sinestro's chest. And then Lex Luthor shows up and is like, hey guys, don't forget about me. Remember, I'm a Green Lantern and I want everything. And then he gets knocked out, cartoon style, by Larfleeze, who just hits him in the back with a orange lantern. And then Black Lantern Martian Manhunter starts attacking everybody with his mind powers. He comes flying in, punches Hal Jordan in the face, sending him colliding with the ground. So now everybody is back to fighting the Black Lanterns, and that is when Indigo 1 gets in contact with all of the other Lantern Corps and gives them the message to come here. And so John Stewart, Guy Gardner, everybody else, they all arrive in order to face the Black Lanterns together. They all combine their powers and shoot their energy beams at Nekron all at the same time. This doesn't really affect Nekron, he's too busy pulling Sinestro and the White Light entity apart, which Sinestro is really upset about because he's like, this is my destiny. He's like, death is your destiny, Sinestro, as it is yours, Hal Jordan. Like the others who came back from the dead, you did so because I allowed it. No more. I want peace again. You still want to take credit for bringing me back to life, Nekron? You might have opened the doorway, but I was the one who walked through it. And then Hal explains to Nekron that so did everybody else. Barry walked through the light and came back to life. And there's also a moment where Superman shows up and is like, hey Hal, remember, I'm a Black Lantern right now, so I'm gonna fight you. But then Hal is like, even you, Superman, Doomsday killed you, but it was your choice to come back to life. Because we are all connected to the White Light, which makes us all the White Lantern Corps. And so through the power of friendship and the power of life itself, everybody who was turned into a Black Lantern that had died, was resurrected, and then became a Black Lantern, they all become White Lantern Corps members. Black Hand is the key to taking down Nekron, because Black Hand is the gate that Nekron used to come to the world of the living. If they bring Black Hand back to life, then they should be able to get rid of Nekron forever, because he'll have no way to come back. And so they use their White Lantern powers against Black Hand, and they bring him back to life. And then Black Hand coughs up a little White Lantern ring. It's not a promise ring, it's actually sent flying straight through Nekron's chest, flying towards the Black Lantern battery, because its purpose is to bring the Anti-Monitor back to life. This part feels a little bit pointless, where the Anti-Monitor is like, I live! And he smashes his way out of the Black Lantern battery, and then he starts shooting energy at Nekron, and Nekron is like, no you don't! And he just shoots a whole bunch of dark energy at Anti-Monitor, and it's like, okay, what was the point of that? Black Hand continues to cough up more and more White Lantern rings, and the White Lantern rings all fly around Nekron and destroy him. So technically, Black Hand is the one who saved the day. The guy that started everything was the guy that ended it. But these White Lantern rings aren't just for destroying Nekron. They are for bringing back a bunch of people who have died. Amon Tomaz, Jenny Lynn Hayden, Digger Harkness, Hank Hall, Ronnie Heyman, Eobard Thawne, Maxwell Lord, Carter Hall, Kendra Saunders, John Johns, Arthur Curry, and Boston Brand. They are all resurrected by the White Lantern rings. Mera is shocked to see that her husband is alive, and she loses her Red Lantern ring powers and then suddenly goes into cardiac arrest. He's like, Mera, Hal, what's going on? What's happening to Mera? Apparently her heart has stopped, and so Carol Ferris uses her powers to jumpstart her heart again by connecting their two hearts together. Like, Arthur, are we dead? No. And then they embrace each other. Carter Hall reunites with Kendra Saunders, or at least you think it's Kendra Saunders, because the white ring did say that it resurrected Kendra Saunders, but I guess the ring was lying, because this is not Kendra Saunders. This is Shiera Hall. Shiera has been resurrected. She still has all of Kendra's memories and all the other lives as well, but this is not Kendra. This is Shiera, so I feel a little bit bad for Kendra because I guess she just stays dead. But Carter doesn't really care about that. He's just happy to see Shiera again. They start making out. Firestorm starts freaking out. He's like, who are you? Get out! They separate because Ronnie Raymond is back alive, and so he and Jason were sharing a body, and now they've separated. Now he's wondering where Professor Stein is, and then we got Hank Hall, who is back, and Dove is trying to calm him down because he's in a rage like he normally is. Maxwell Lord is back to life, so Guy Gardner is like, oh, Max, what do you think you're doing here? You don't think you can. And then he notices that Max's nose is bleeding, and he's like, you alright, sir? Max is like, I'm fine. And then he kind of just fades into the mist. Jade is back to life, and the first thing she does is make out with Kyle, and it's a little awkward because Soranik is right there. Amon is back, and he just wants to go back to Karndak. Barry tries to stop Eobard Thorne from leaving, because he's like, Thorne, you're not doing anything! And Thorne's like, I'm out of here. He leaves. And then Captain Boomerang is there, and he's like, Flash, you piece of shit. And then Barry just punches him in the face and knocks him out. And then he realizes that Ralph and Sue aren't here. They weren't brought back to life for some reason. He's like, why? And then Deadman is like, oh no, you can all see me. You're not supposed to see me. And he pulls his mask off, which I didn't know was a mask. I thought that was just him. This isn't right. I'm not supposed to be here. Laughley's drops off Lex Luthor and is like, these is yours. And Sinestro is like, for a person who's so greedy, it's kind of amazing that you actually gave something to us. It's like, I didn't. You. And he's like a little bit embarrassed about it. It's like, I helped save everyone. I demand what I was promised. You belong to me, Blue One. And Ganthet tries to stop Sade, and Sade is like, I made a promise to be his slave. She mentions that the Anti-Monitor has returned, so I guess he didn't get destroyed by Nekron. He just kind of left. They don't really say or show him leaving. And Black Hand is also missing. And so is Indigo One and her tribe. And it's revealed that they've kidnapped Black Hand and have forced him to be a member of their tribe. And it's like they've given him some kind of lobotomy where he's drooling. It's like, okay. I'm sure Jeff Johns has plans for this in the future. For now, we switch to Gotham City, where Barry and Hal have gone to the graves of Thomas and Martha Wayne, and Barry is like, why do you think only certain people came back, but not everybody did? Like Ralph Dibny and Sue. Like, why did all those other people come back, but not them? And Hal is like, I don't know. There's probably some grand plan to all this, of what's going on. What about the entity? The white light? Did it disappear back into the earth? Is it inside Black Hand? No. I can feel it out there, Barry, urging us to break away from the past and the blackest night and head into tomorrow. And we see somewhere else there is a massive crater in the road, and inside that crater is a white lantern. That is the end of Blackest Night. Let's take a look at our heart tally. We've been counting how many hearts get ripped out throughout this entire series. We counted 102 in total. I think this series definitely met my expectations. Everybody had been lauding this event as one of the greatest DC events of all time, and it really is because of how much it meant to so many different characters. While I did start to get tired of the tie-ins by the end, it was only because I was reading so many of them. Overall, the tie-ins were really enjoyable. The concept was a really good one. The only really real criticisms that I have of this series is Jon Stewart really just not get to do much throughout it. He gets shafted pretty damn hard. And as somebody who is supposed to be the main protagonist of the main Green Lantern title, Hal Jordan doesn't do as much in this as you would hope he would. Or you would think he would. Like, even when he becomes a White Lantern at the end of issue 8, he's doing it alongside everybody else. It's not a moment for him, it's a moment for everybody. Meanwhile, Sinestro got to be a White Lantern by himself and do some really cool stuff. He got to fight Nekron head on and did pretty well against him. It feels like all the other Green Lanterns got some like good character development aside from Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. And even the villains got more character development than Hal did. Sinestro, Atrocitus, even Laughly's got some character development by the end because he gave them Lex Luthor when he didn't have to. I might get flamed for these critiques, but I've always tried to be as honest as I possibly can about what I think is good and what I think is not so good in these events. But besides that, I think it was great. If you haven't read Blackest Night, I highly recommend reading it and checking it out. This isn't where the story ends with the White Lantern. We will see where this story continues next week when we begin Brightest Day, which is the event that continued right after this. It was a maxi series consisting of 24 issues, so we will start that next time. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one.